flag
I pledge
of the United
allegiance
States
to
of
the flag
America,
of the United States
to
of
the
America,
republic
to the republic for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So welcome to the March 1st, 2021 meeting of the Town of Dover Planning Board. Today's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's March 13, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which dispenses certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view the meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I've confirmed that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice at Town Hall, providing notice to the meeting to local news organizations, and posting notice to the town's website. And again, I'd like to apologize for the delay in starting this meeting, which had a technical difficulty of the wrong meeting information being sent around. So again, I do apologize for that. All right, so with that, seeing that we have 4 planning board members and one of the members needs to recuse himself from the public hearing on 43 Mill Street, we won't have a quorum for having this public hearing. But while we have you here, Mr. Sander, without starting a public hearing, since we can't, is there any new information that you have? I mean, should we just put this off for some number of months? Because every meeting we just bring this up and there's nothing new the last few months.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a matter of getting the determination letter out to Don at this point. We're tweaking it, sitting on it for review, but as soon as it gets sent out, we're hoping to hear back from him with a quick turnaround. That's my reluctance to close a public hearing, because then we'd have to go through another series of opening it and then closing it again. So I guess on the legal end, I need guidance on that.
Oh, Pete, so technically the public hearing was canceled from the snowstorm a month ago. And so we're going to have to renotice it anyways.
Okay. So yeah, then I would just suggest that maybe we do take it off for now until we can renotice it out the public hearing, because it does sound like it regardless, we would have to do the process over again.
Right, because at this point, you don't know if it might be April or May or June. So.
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
I would say that then that's a pretty reasonable way of going about this.
Okay. And then that's what we'll do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your understanding there. Is Polidoro, is anything else we need to do at this time for 43 Mill Street?
Nope, no need to vote or anything. We'll just pick it up again when we receive some
Some
new
point in the
information.
future. Okay. Thank you. All right, next we have a public hearing for Savaris, Dover Furnace Road. I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing for Savaris, Dover Furnace Road. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by member Roman. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. All right, the vote is 4-0 with 3 abstentions. This public hearing is now open. Any members of the public who wish to speak will do so after we hear from the applicant and or consultant. Mr. Sander?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess I'll just recap the project again, just in case any of the members of the public are on. So the applicants are proposing to construct a contractor yard / warehouse for their commercial or for their septic business. The proposed project parcel is on Dover Furnace Road. It's a 9.05 acre parcel within the CO commercial zoning district. The proposed project includes the construction of a 4,480 square foot building. 480 square feet of it will be reserved for office space, while 4,000 of it will be for contractor yard use, such as storing the equipment necessary to perform their plumbing service or their septic service. Also included as part of the project is an aggregate storage bin, parking spaces, a septic system, which has already been approved, wet detention pond, which has already been constructed, and a driveway, which has also already been constructed. This is part of this development is actually a reduction in development that was previously proposed for the site, which had two buildings, each over 20,000 square feet. Last submission, we discussed some of the building elevations that submitted with evergreen siding and charcoal trim and roof. Overall, it's going to be a snazzy looking building, even though I'm not sure members of the public are actually going to be able to see it. Other than that, there's really nothing more needed to be added on the project, and I open it up to public comment. Look forward to hearing from you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Sander. So at this time, my understanding is that there is one member of the public who would like to speak regarding the Sever East Dover Furnace Road proposed project at this public hearing. Just a reminder that all comments need to be remain germane to the matter at hand before the planning board. Does that member of the public like to introduce themselves? Mr. Buffamante, if you can hear me, the floor is yours. Mr. Buffamante, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Maybe our secretary, Ms. Van Millen, can offer some assistance.
He's not muted.
Okay.
Perhaps
I
he
see
can
that.
use the chat function. It doesn't appear that he's connected to the audio.
Okay.
If you can hear us, you could chat your comments.
Mr. Buffamante, if you're
Signed out.
okay.
He left.
All right, let's
Well, while we're waiting,
yes, while we're waiting, go ahead.
I can talk about just a little bit. This application cannot be approved tonight in any event because we're still
Right.
waiting to hear back from Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. The referral went out and it has not been 30 days yet,
It's March 10th, I believe,
right?
that we need to, okay. So we do have a meeting planned for March 15th. So can this public hearing be continued to March 15th? And then also,
Yes.
we would take care of
You
any
can vote
resolutions
to
at that time?
Yes, you can vote to continue it, and that will allow anyone who had trouble signing in tonight to either send a letter or to sign in at the next meeting.
Okay. Is
All
there
right.
any way following, sorry to interrupt, any
Mhm.
way following the closing of that public hearing, if it seemed acceptable for the board, can we work to make an approval resolution for that meeting, or would that be possible?
My understanding is there is a draft resolution already typed up.
Perfect.
But, you know, again, that would be introduced at that meeting. So as we just wait one more minute here, I can see that member Morosky has joined us. Welcome. And also that member Williams has lost his internet connection from the text he just sent me, and he's not part of the meeting either. So we still have a quorum because there's still 4 members. Not sure how it works if the 4 members who approved the public hearing, now there's only 3 of them left. But
This is the roughest we've had it.
yes, I'll have to figure out what's going on with Zoom.
I have someone, I had a Brian Hildebrand email me asking if he's the only one in the waiting room waiting to get in.
He's he's for Dover One LLC and Gardner Dolan.
Okay,
Okay,
so he'll get in when it's that time. Okay.
And I do see, Ms. Van Millen, I do see 2 phone numbers that are waiting?
I have no idea who they are.
Okay.
Those may be from Harlem Valley Homestead. We have some folks on our team still trying to get in.
Well, we have Neil Alexander, we have Josh, we have Kathleen, and we have Michael.
All right, well,
That
it is possible that the people that are in the waiting room are here for this public hearing, so
You want me to admit them and find
why
out?
don't you admit them and let's find out. Member Williams, I see you're back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Asked to unmute.
All right, so they're being asked to unmute.
Yep. They're not unmuting.
Okay, well, I think again, sufficient time for anyone who'd like to participate in this public hearing at this time to do so. So at this time, I'll make a motion to continue this public hearing to our next meeting, which will be Monday, March 15th, starting at or soon thereafter, 7 p.m. Motion made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Villano. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The vote is 5-0 with 2 abstentions. Or 2 absences, rather. Okay. So, Mr. Sander, I believe that's it for you this evening.
That's it. All right. Thank you very
All right,
much,
so,
Mr. Chairman.
We'll continue this public hearing on the 15th.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, everyone. I
Thank
will
you.
see you then.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to old business, Harlem Valley Homestead. So if someone from Harlem Valley Homestead would like to take it away, we'll continue with our discussions. Ms. Gallagher, if you're trying to speak, you're still muted.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Gallagher with Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture. I'm here with the applicants, Josh Viertel and Michael Armilio, as well as the land use attorneys, Neil Alexander and Alec Glad. I'm going to share my screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I believe Secretary Van Millen is rectifying that this time.
I will verbally start to go through where we are in the project.
Please do.
Since the last time we were in front of the planning board on February 8th, we've continued to make progress on the project. As part of our most recent submission, we submitted supplemental information, including a revised drawing set with an updated employee overflow parking configuration. As noted in our letter, the applicant did have a discussion with the adjacent neighbor about the overflow parking. They requested 3 items, and those are: number 1, that the parking lot be stabilized meadow as compared to just bare gravel. No screening to be planted in order to preserve their view to the river, with the anticipation that it would eventually one day get too large and would impede their view. And that the majority of the parking be concentrated along the hill in order to capitalize the natural screening provided by the topography and the vegetative buffer. All of these are shown on our most recent drawing set.
And Ms. Gallagher, when you have the ability to, you'll be showing. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So this is the area, the proposed stabilized metal for farm use and overflow employee parking.
Mhm.
And you can see by our parking plan that the goal would be to utilize the 14 spaces at the bottom of the hill first. And then if there would ever be excess parking, it would utilize the 7 spaces across the aisle. The applicant understands and acknowledges the preference and how we can help make this area better. And as previously mentioned, it is shown on our drawing set. We formally submitted the viewshed study discussed at the last planning board meeting. It included several minor changes requested by AKRF. As noted in their memo, the proposed development does not create an adverse visual impact. We also included an aquifer zoning compliance letter outlining the project is in compliance with the Town of Dover Aquifer Overlay District zoning code. Additional notes have been added to EX1, outlining those protection notes and how we are in compliance, as well as any necessary items that need to be taken into consideration. The biggest item from a land use perspective is the 200 feet. The 200 feet around each buffer. That area is not going to be used for pasture. It is only going to be used for passive agriculture, passive activities, passive recreation, and any of those items that will require a permit, the Harlan Valley Homestead will acquire by the town. An updated sound study was submitted, which addresses the outstanding AKRF comments. Per AKR's latest memo, there are some additional pieces of information that's requested, including information on sound related to truck deliveries. We will work with the sound consultant, VHB, to address those additional comments in a subsequent submission. We've also included several items just for record for the planning board. That also includes meeting minutes from the DOT meeting that we discussed at the previous planning board meeting. Creighton Manning is currently preparing the next submission to the Department of Transportation, and we will keep the board updated as that process continues. They have not they've not submitted a subsequent submission yet, and when they do, we'll provide records to the town. One of the new items in the submission was the event management plan. This was created by Creighton Manning to walk through the mitigation measures for a 200-person guest event and a 450-person guest event. And what they do is they go through each potential event location and parking and access to events for 200 people and 450 people. The 200-person event utilizes the farm core for the majority of the parking. There's 91 spaces in this location. It talks about the use for directional signage as guests approach the property to direct them to where the parking would need to be. In the 450-person event, that gets expanded a little more, and it includes the overflow event parking, which adds another 100 spaces if it's parked traditionally, and another 160 spaces if it's parked with a parking attendant and valet parking and additional measures. It would have its own set of signage associated. If a guest comes in, when the 91 parking space would be full, it would have a sign dictating that. And then you would go to the overflow parking, in which case would have attendants, signage, also the need for potential lighting in the evening. Again, these are all going to be based on individual events and what's needed for each event, and Harlan Valley Homestead will create the appropriate mitigation measures for each size of event. If an event goes over 450 attendees, it is noted in the AKRF memo for this submission that the town will notify, that the applicant will notify the town of this measure, and any additional mitigation that would be required will be utilized. The applicant is very aware of the importance of communication with the town for large events in general, and will be sure to include the town in any correspondence. The neighbors also have the opportunity to opt into a Harlan Valley Homestead event communication email list, which will notify the neighbors of large events upcoming. As noted in the AKRF memo, the management plan is acceptable. And again, as previously mentioned, we will make sure that the town is notified if any potential event deviates from the original plan. We understand that we do still have some outstanding items. That includes the lighting plan, an updated architectural package, including colors and materials, as well as information related to signage and solar. The architectural team is in the process of preparing those documents and will be included in a subsequent submission. Procedurally, the planning board circulated its notice, its intent to declare themselves lead agency. As of February 5th, 30 days have passed, and we understand that there have been no objections. We do respectfully request tonight that the planning board declare itself lead agency. In addition, as part of tonight's review, we'd like to discuss the current status of completeness for the project as it relates to circulation to county planning. As mentioned, we do understand that there are several outstanding items, but we'd like to focus on which, if any of those items are needed to circulate to county planning. That completes my status review of the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board or consultants.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gallagher. I have some questions, and then as we did last time, we'll go through each member to see if they have any comments or questions, and then we'll go through our consultants, and then we'll go back to the members to see if they have any further comments or questions based on what the consultants have to say. So with respect to the overflow parking, if you could bring that up on the map and zoom in to that. The overflow parking further along Old Forge Road, please. I guess you're not referring to as overflow parking, you're referring to as employee parking.
For the event management plan, when we're
Overflow
talking
employee
about
parking.
a 450 event, we are talking about the overflow event parking in this
Okay.
area.
But you also have that as overflow employee parking. Then.
This is overflow event parking. We consider this to be overflow employee farm use parking.
Okay. So just a couple questions on that. So is that located in the flood plain, the floodway of the 10 Mile River?
It is not located within the floodplain. The line right here.
The long line and then two short lines and then repeating pattern.
That comes up around, which is then in this area located at this area right along here. So we are outside the floodplain.
Floodplain. Okay. So that's in the floodplain. Okay. And then has there been any consideration to an alternative location for that parking? It seems to be something that keeps coming up as something that some people that live along Old Forge Road have some contention about. You know, you were speaking with regard to not having screening, vegetative screening. So I was looking to see if there's any alternative consideration.
There is existing vegetative screening. There is a code compliant 50-foot vegetative buffer between Old Forge Road and the proposed parking area. Okay. That is existing and will be remaining. And again, we've had discussions with the neighbor. We are willing to make it a stabilized meadow, which means when it's not in use, you won't even notice that it's there. It'll really be part of the landscape. And if you do park your car really close to the hill, you can barely see it from the road, and especially from the neighbor's property. One of the reasons that is in this area is its location to potential event spaces in the future. Mm-hmm. We do anticipate, A, being an area that may hold a very small event. A is also an area where some of the best market gardens are on site. So one of the reasons it's located in this specific space is to utilize its proximity to the event space and to, as it mentions, it's a farm use parking area as well for access for that space. So although we may be able to relocate some of those spaces to other portions of the parking lot, it's being used for its context to other areas, not just because we don't have space on other parts of the site.
And so do you foresee any material being put down there to stabilize the?
So what we'll
Parking.
do is we'll create a base of stabilized gravel, and then we'll top it with topsoil enough for growing material for a meadow to be able to substantiate and survive in that area.
Okay. When you say growing material, you mean grass or hay or something?
Yep, so topsoil that can support plant life, and then we'll seed it and put a meadow on top of it.
All right, so, and then I believe you said in reference to the New York State DOT and Route 55, and they're proposing that there should be a left turn lane. It sounds like what you're saying is that there's nothing new at this time because
There's nothing new at this
you need to
time.
communicate back to, not you, but HVH, generally speaking, needs to communicate back with New York State DOT.
Correct. We've not communicated back yet. Creighton Manning is doing an intensive study of that area and is submitting a subsequent submission, but they have not done so yet.
And last time we were discussing Old Forge Road. And so two things about that. One, I know some attorneys are looking into if there are any deed issues with respect to there. Is there any new information?
There's no
Old Forge Road?
There's no new information. The attorneys at Creighton Manning and in the town are currently in discussions, and when they come up with a determination, we'll let the board know. We have prepared some additional information in a package and have given that to the town attorneys. Our understanding is at the moment, there's no objection to our thought process for this area, but again, we'll wait to hear from them for their final determination on that matter.
Okay. And also with respect to Old Forge Road, I live on a private dirt road, and this is a terrible time of year for dirt roads. So what mitigation, if any, is proposed for what would be the increased traffic that would be anticipated on a dirt road, especially this time of year when it could be certainly problematic. You may have some guests that think, oh, I can just drive up there, and it turns out they have a car that's not at all equipped to be on a dirt road, and may get stuck and then cause an issue. Just wanted, your thoughts on that.
So Creighton Manning has done an analysis of the road, the speed, the comfortable speed on the road, and that includes all weather conditions. As we widen the road, there are several trees that are going to be taken down, but the site distance have been reviewed and there's no objection. The one area where it does get pretty steep, where I would understand your concerns, that area is not going to be dirt, it's going to be asphalt. It's currently asphalt, it'll be replaced with asphalt. And so that area, which it would be difficult in the winter times, is a completely different material. But the area which is a dirt road is pretty flat, and it has been analyzed by Creighton Manning for appropriateness, and they did not feel that it warranted updating the materials to something such as asphalt.
Brian, should I
Yes.
weigh in on or later?
When we get to you, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll wait.
Thank you. And then my last question at this time is, so the various parking lots, aside from this overflow employee parking lot, what materials are we going to be put down for the parking lot that's located in what you might call the site center, and then the parking lot that's in the proposed overflow event parking?
So the proposed overflow is proposed to be meadow.
Similar to the employee parking? Okay.
Very similar to, because it's being used infrequently, we don't believe that it necessitates a stabilized surface.
Mhm.
Also, it breaks with the character of the area. We are proposing hospitality and guest employees in that area. We either want them to look out and be able to look at a green agriculture-esque scenario and seen from their views. So that is in normal days going to be completely meadow, and during special events, that's when it'll be parked, it'll be mowed appropriately, and any additional mitigation required per the event management plan will be put into place. Again, the idea of this establishment is to maintain the character of the agricultural existence. And so it is proposed that this area continues, as you said, there is a gravel road. That gravel material continues into the site for continuity, and that area is proposed to be gravel, basically like a packed item 4, which will connect and interlock into each other, stabilize, and will be used for parking.
So in the overflow event parking, there'll be no handicap parking.
Correct.
So then there will be handicap parking. If you could zoom into the, I guess where the main parking lot would be.
Correct.
That's what the, okay.
So we're proposing 3 handicap parking spaces. There's also handicap parking associated with the cabins, which are considered to be handicap accessible. In front of each one of those locations, there's handicap parking. Same thing with the proposed hive, which is also an amenity space, as well as a overnight guest location that also has handicap parking associated with it.
And so my understanding is for it to be appropriate handicap parking, that part of the parking needs to be asphalt, right?
It has to be stable and firm.
Okay.
So for example, you can have gravel, but it has to constantly be stabilized. So in this area, we haven't worked through exactly what that material is, but it may be the gravel parking with an additional stabilizer on top of it to firm up that area to make sure it stays consistent. But really the ADA code is, the idea is it doesn't want like a very loose gravel that a wheelchair or a cane could sink into. It makes sure that it's a firm surface, so there's no deviations, as well as there's no holes over a ½ an inch and things of that nature.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Member Morosky?
Yes, I had a couple questions. I thought, Kathleen, your study of camouflaging the project from 26 different locations was good. I think doing it in January was good because it was pretty much screened, even though there was no foliage on the trees. And by the time the summer comes along and the trees are totally foliated out, it should be totally covered. And then you had said that the architecture team was putting together a package to exemplify the materials and colors to be compatible with the surrounding architecture. In order to keep the project camouflaged from neighbors in the Appalachian Trail, I would recommend using earth tones and colors like natural grays, browns, and greens that will help blend the project into its natural surroundings.
That is something I will pass along to the architectural team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Rossi, you're all set?
I'm done. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Member Rossi. Member Roman?
Sorry, I was muted. No comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Williams?
No comments or questions.
Thank you. Member Villano?
Yeah, just a couple. Your overflow event parking, wasn't on this drawing, but you had a note about lighting. Is there a lighting plan for it? Are you doing permanent lights? Are you bringing in temporary light towers? What's the objective?
The event management plan, it was recommended that in certain cases, depending on how late you're there in the evening, the number of people you expect to have, it might be suitable to either rent or acquire some sort of temporary lighting for specific events. We do not plan, at the moment, we do not plan having any sort of permanent light poles or vertical structures in this area, downcasting light. It would be something that you would see for other similar large plans where you're trying to highlight certain areas for the safety of vehicles coming in and out of the space that isn't typically used for parking.
Okay. And one other comment about the area where the wells are. I saw you had notes for a, what was it, a 30,000 gallon storage tank?
Yes.
Is that going to be a tank, a tower? What's the footprint, dimensions, et cetera?
Oh, wrong set of plans. So it's a 30,000 gallon water storage tank. I will confirm this with the engineering team, but I do believe that it is underground. But again, I will confirm that with our engineers. The tank is sized appropriately, as you see on the drawings. It is to scale. Again, what that exact dimension is, I don't know off the top of my head, but that's information I can get for you.
Okay. I was just concerned if it was going to be a tower or a low-lying tank.
It's within the vegetation of the existing trees and will be screened.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Member Valano.
Yep.
Attorney Polidoro? Before you begin, you've drafted resolutions for a resolution for HVH for the seeker determination?
I didn't draft a resolution, but the board could consider making a motion to declare itself lead agency.
Lead agency, okay,
tonight.
Thank you. It's fine.
I don't object to that. No,
right.
that's my only comment at this point.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to recommend that you hold off on scheduling hearing until we have more information on the road issues, because the public's going to be very interested in that.
Victoria, would you do this same recommendation for county planning?
Yes, to the extent that the intersection might change, it would make sense to wait.
Right. I was also going to say that since the left turn lane is proposed now and the traffic study is likely going to be updated, we want to make sure county planning has that in hand.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Polidoro. Engineer Berger?
Yeah, yes. Let's start with the road issue. The town attorney is still reviewing the submission that was presented. The additional information on the case that the applicant sent in. So he needs an additional time to formulate his opinion. As far as the plans, I signed off on the SWIP already. The minor modifications you're talking about won't change the SWIP in any significant manner, so I'm still comfortable with the SWIP and the grading they provided. On the road itself, I had a discussion with Jason Santoro, the highway superintendent, today relevant to this road. And in particular, his crew was up there today, and we'll be up there again tomorrow, regrading that road due to the time of year it's at, and that's relevant into the surface of the road. That even with the number of cars that are on the road today, this time of year requires a lot of maintenance by the town to maintain it. And he's concerned that as the number of cars and trucks increase due to this proposal, that the current surface, which is more of it's not gravel, it's a dirt road, will increase the need for maintenance by the town. There are gullies out there today that are a foot deep. So small cars will have trouble getting through them, thus requiring the need for the highway superintendent to be out there more often. He's expressed his concern and wants me to express it to the planning board, that his request is for the applicant to reconsider and look at the different surface for that portion of the road throughout the site where cars will be driving and people will be walking because of the type of weather. He also, and we've stated this before, is concerned over the bridge that is on Old Forge Road there, that is sufficient to handle the current traffic and loads, but may not be acceptable for the additional traffic, especially if we're talking about some larger events, and we'd like the applicant to respond to that stuff. That's better.
Joe, it would
Yes.
be helpful if you could ask the highway super to put his comments in writing for the record, so we have them on his letterhead.
Okay, I will ask him to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Murray?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Planner Werner?
Thanks. So the applicant actually went through and summarized a lot of the comments in the latest memo already. You'll notice that it's a little bit shorter this time. I didn't think it would be helpful to keep piling on the comments over previous responses. It was getting long on the last memo. So I prepared a new one, just hitting on the latest submission and outstanding items. So yeah, on the aquifer overlay findings, that was fine. There are some requirements in the code about circulating the EAF to the Dover Conservation Advisory Commission. I think that would be better done maybe when we're towards a final version. So I think we can hold off on that. And I guess the question for the applicant is, were you able to get the list of public water system owners for your purposes here? I know you reached out to the town for that list. And
My understanding was Joe was going to reach out to the Department of Health.
I
and
did.
ask.
I have, and I have not received a response back from Google. I will follow up with them.
Okay, thanks. And then on the permit that's required for non-intrusive recreation uses, I assume that's a town board permit, not a planning board permit. I guess it's a question for Victoria, if she knows anything about that.
What was the name of the permit?
It's a non-intrusive recreational uses permit within the wellhead buffer. This is coming from the code language.
I'm not familiar with that, and I will look into it.
Okay, thanks. I wasn't either. And then on the traffic management plan, yeah, we took a look at that. Our traffic folks took a look at that as well. We do recommend that if you're going over the 450, that it be revisited. Obviously, this wasn't required per the code because it's 500 guests or more is the requirement for this type of plan to be presented to the board. But it still was helpful to see the circulation plan and the parking plans and everything. So, but obviously, if it's going to be deviating from that, including employees and guests, it should be updated and the town should be aware of that. We talked about the view sheds. I agree with Member Morosky's recommendations about the earth tones. We'll wait and see what that looks like. I also had a note about a previous comment where we talked about the solar possibilities. There was some mentioning of maybe building mounted and/or structure mounted or solar panels being in parking lots or even open fields. I think that's important to just consider that once we have an idea of what those might be, maybe making sure the visual study, at least from that one view that we know you can see the project from, isn't going to be affected by solar installations. You covered the noise comments. I think you might want to have we can have a separate discussion about that. I think the main issue is, for the board's benefit, if you haven't read it, it's comment number 9 in the memo. The DEC guidance is pretty clear on, increases greater than 10 decibels deserve consideration for some kind of mitigation or avoidance. And we're seeing in a couple of locations on Old Forge, south of the project site, an exceedance of 10 decibels during the peak hour and the peak season. This is obviously the neighbors have interest here. This is a dead end road that folks that are using the project are going to be using this, and there's significantly more traffic, as we all can tell. So we just want a little more explanation, or maybe even working with Creighton Manning to figure it out. Also, how does this meeting the definition of not being a significant impact under the DEC guidance? We're just seeing a little more information. We can talk about it more if you want. I mentioned the traffic study. I think with the additional left turn lane, obviously that's going to require updates to the study. So I think we want to make sure we take a look at that. DOT actually hasn't responded to the secret circulation that was in January. The only response we got back on that was from DEC, and they had some comments about species, some SHPO comments, which I think we cleared up with them. They're reviewing the bog turtle study, which I don't think they saw the first time, so they can complete the review of the endangered species, threatened and endangered species. But DOT obviously is a big player in this. They're an involved agency, but we haven't received comments from them on the traffic study. But it sounds like it's being revised anyway, based on the meeting that we had with them about the left turn lane. In which case, we could follow up with them on what their status is of giving comments on the findings. I think that was it for this round. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Werner. All right, at this time, are there any other members of the planning board that wish to make a comment or question based on what our consultants have said? Please do so at this time. Okay. Ms. Gallagher, do you have, you or anyone for your team have anything else to say at this time?
I do not believe so.
Thank you. All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion to declare the Town of Dover Planning Board lead agency for the Harlem Valley Homestead project. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Morosky. Discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, I'll call the question and have the Secretary Van Millen call the roll, please.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member Borowski,
Aye.
Member Rahman,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Vote is 5-0 with 2 absences. Okay, and I don't believe there is any further business for Harlem Valley Homestead before the planning board at this time. So
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Everyone have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, next we have under new business, Dover One LLC. The location is 34 North Nelly Hill Road, Dover Plains, New York, 12522. It's an application for erosion control.
Hi, good evening. This is Brian Hildenbrand, representing Conley Engineering. And this is our first time here. If I could share my screen, I think it'd be the easiest just to walk everyone through the plan.
Okay. And Mr. Hildebrand, is anyone joining you this evening for this project?
I am, sir. My name is Ron Kestenbaum, and I'm with Dover One LLC.
Welcome, Mr. Kastenbaum.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Hildenbrand, if you'd like to proceed.
Okay. Yep. Share. Is it up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let me just basically it's a developed lot. It's just under 4 acres. There are 2 multifamily buildings on site with parking in between the buildings and to the rear. And we were brought on to the job to help alleviate some of the flooding issues happening on the property that were stemming from this existing culvert pipe. There's a 36-inch pipe that begins up on page north here and runs down the page and discharges into the Stone Church Brook. when we got into looking at what, how to replace this pipe, it was discovered that the existing septic systems are in these grassed islands here behind the building. So rather than opening up that can of worms and disturbing a system that has been there since, I believe, the 80s, maybe the 70s, we decided to go with an open channel to intercept that water course, bring it discharged to roughly the same location. And what this channel does is it meets the setbacks of the septic system. It allows greater capacity to pass more water during the larger storm events. So we are here in front of the board tonight for an erosion control permit. And we have prepared an erosion control plan. Basically, the intent is to create the channel offline, shape it, stabilize it, and then once it's stabilized, introduce the base flow of the stream into the channel and leave the existing culvert as is.
Okay. So Mr. Hildebrand, this is the proposed condition. Do you have a map that shows the existing conditions?
No, I do not. That's
fine. It's
okay.
And then could you just zoom out a little further so I think everyone can get a larger context of the location here? So this is in between New York State Route 22 and North Nelly Hill Road in Dover Plains. It's just north of the Metro North Railroad, correct?
It's right here.
Yes. So if you were to go along South Nelly Hill Road and then North Nelly Hill Road, you'd go underneath that bridge and the buildings would be off to your left, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then if someone was in the back of the McDonald's parking lot, they'd be looking across some grassy, lightly vegetative, shrubby area, and they would see the back of the apartments, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to give everyone, members and the public, a sense of just kind of where this is and where we're talking about. Okay. So there's an existing pipe underneath that's the dotted lines that go almost exactly north and south there.
Yes, that is.
And so the water backs up to the north, impacting properties north of this property.
That was my understanding. When I was out there, I did speak with the neighbor because he saw some guy poking around in his near his backyard. He didn't have any. It was actually this neighbor here. He didn't have any specific flooding experience. I don't know how long he's been there. The whole area is within the theme of the floodplain. So, whether it's a locally sourced problem here or if it's more of a global, just from the area being in a floodplain, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Right. Is it that the pipe is no longer allowing the water to flow through?
Right. There's some failure and impediment to that pipe.
So we see the proposed swale, and then also the circles are those trees.
Oh no, those are just typical soil stockpiles, just to show, as they excavate this. I mean, it is over, has shown over 600 cubic yards of fill. So just to show a realistic limit of disturbance of what's going to take place.
And Dover One LLC is in ownership of both. It looks like it's taking place on two parcels, and Dover LLC is in ownership of both parcels.
Correct.
It looks like T&E Holding Corp is also an owner.
Yes, they're my partner with Dover One LLC.
All right. So we'll open up to members of the planning board at this time. Member Villano, any comments?
No comments.
Thank you, Member Villano. And Member Williams?
No comment at this time.
Thank you, Member Williams. And Member Roman?
I think I saw something in the information that was sent out that we're going to be doing a site walk. Is that coming up?
No, I think a site walk would be appropriate. We need to determine the
Yeah,
date and
just
time for
to
that.
visualize it better. No comments at this time. Thank you.
But thank you for bringing up about the site walk.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Member Roman. And Member Morosky?
No comment, Ryan.
Thank you. Is it snowing at your house?
I was going to ask.
Jeez, great. Okay. All right, moving on. So we'll now move on to our consultants. Attorney Polidoro.
Hi. I didn't get a copy of this, so I'm hoping the applicant can send us the site plan. But one of the questions is, can you explain the easement, the access and easement, maintenance easement that you're proposing between the two parties? Which party would be required to do the maintenance, and is it in favor of anyone else, or is it just between these two property owners?
The intent was just between the two property owners to establish that now. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought, if one lot was sold off to avoid any issues down the line, just to establish that now. My
No,
thought
that's right. And where it enters into the stream, does the stream actually enter your property? I can't tell from this. You don't have to cross a different property, do you?
No, do not. It's the stream does encroach onto our property. That's where the connection point. That's why we chose the point we did.
Okay.
And I apologize. We'll make sure, which should probably answer some of the comments in the memo I received asking for a site plan. So we'll make sure you have this.
Well, apart from the site plan, we actually also need a site plan application.
Okay. Isn't that part of the discussion?
That answers the question.
All right.
Okay. So, Attorney Polidoro, this evening we would set a site walk date and time. Do you see anything else legally we would look to do as the planning board this evening?
We can't refer it yet until we get the site plan and the site plan application.
Sorry, excuse me. I sent in 2 applications. Is that not one of them?
Oh, the only thing I received was the erosion sediment control application, the EAF, and the engineer's report.
Okay, then. So it's a site plan application you need? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
can
asking for?
elaborate on that a little bit.
Please do.
It's my turn. Okay. So basically, yeah, this is in the stream corridor overlay area or district, which if you look in the code, I have the citation in the memo that I forwarded around. When you're filling or excavating an area greater than 5,000 square feet in the stream corridor overlay, you need to submit a site plan application as well. So if this drawing was actually submitted with the materials, this can serve as a site plan, but I didn't get it, and I don't think Victoria got it either. And we didn't see the application for a site plan approval and the fee paid for that too. Would have to be part of this.
We do have a meeting on March 15th, so we could discuss this further at this time, given that he submitted this before the deadline, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fine.
Planner Werner, do you have anything else at this time?
Just on the other procedural notes, I'm going to defer to Joe on all the technical aspects of the erosion sediment control stuff. But it is within 500 feet of Route 22, so it needs a county referral. We can treat this as unlisted for SECRA. We do have a short form EAF submitted. We do recommend that it's coordinated with DEC, given that it's directly entering the DEC regulated stream, Wells Brook. I mentioned the stream corridor overlay requirements, and I also, in discussions with you and Victoria early on, we thought it would make sense to have the railroad involved, just to take a look at this because it's close to the tracks.
Correct. As it may have some impact on their piping that goes underneath their railroad tracks, potentially.
Correct. That was it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warner. Engineer Berger?
Yeah, yeah, I have not received the site plan. I have reviewed the drainage report. We're curious to make like Old Country Squire site has been having problems with that pipe for years with beaver dams and backups that Don, Paul, and I have visited the site many occasions. So it's good to see that we're going to come up with something more permanent than what was there before. I do believe the site did have a repair of the septic system back around 5 years ago. I'm quite surprised, actually, there was nothing in the health department foil for that, though. When they did so that means they may not have gone to the health department. So my concern would be in the report, it talks about reusing that pipe for overflow when it really doesn't seem to be necessary when you construct the new ditch with all the additional capacity. And with the septic system being over top of that pipe and without any real proof that it was properly sealed or anything, there's a possibility of allowing that sewage system to drain through that pipe in some time in the future, causing pollution downstream. Wouldn't it be now that we no longer will need that pipe to have it either replaced by removing it or filled in some way so that the sewage system doesn't actually down the road drain, or even if it is currently doing it, drain down into our downstream water. It's certainly not needed for the capacity. It has very low capacity compared to the capacity of your proposed ditch. So that would be something I would recommend if unless they could show that it's got no risk to that. Other than that, once I see the plan, I'm sure you'll have all the erosion control and surface details, but the report itself is fine. I agree with the findings of the report, and I agree with the procedure and their method of rerouting the stream around so it will solve the problem finally. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berger. Hearing what the consultants have said, any members of the planning board have any further comments or questions at this time? All right, hearing none, let's determine a date and time for a site walk. We have one of the next 2 Saturdays, 6th or the 13th.
I'm flexible for either of those days.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm flexible either date.
Okay.
If we do it the 6th, if we see anything, refer that to the applicant, maybe handle the feet better.
Okay. So is there any objection to the 6th? All right. I'm sure Mr. Berger would want to have it at 6 a.m., but let's find a time that works for most of us.
6:30?
I want to say 8 a.m.
Fine with me.
That works.
All right, any objection to the 6th at 8 a.m.? We have to obviously make sure that the applicant is okay with the 6th at 8 a.m.
I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that. I am presently in Florida and I'm getting my second COVID shot on the 18th, so I can't leave.
Sure.
But
Do you have a representative?
I'll have to make arrangements for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, it's essentially there'll be 5, 6, 7, 8 people showing up. It's on this Saturday the 6th at 8 a.m. So yeah, you might want to have somebody there, whether it's one of your whether it's your consultant or property manager, someone, I would think.
You're looking at the property manager,
Sure,
so
no,
I'm gonna have to
I-
call my
I hear you.
consultant.
I hear you. Okay. Well, I guess you should, he's your consultant if you'd like to ask Mr. Hildebrand. if
Yeah,
he's
I'm gonna
available.
have to
Yeah,
ask. Yes, yes.
Yeah, someone will be there.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna have the Dover One LLC site walk this March 6th at 8 a.m.
What is that street address?
34 North Nilly Hill Road.
Thanks.
Dover.
Right before the bridge, right before the railroad. Crossing.
If you're heading south, it's before the
Head-
railroad bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So seeing nothing further at this time, I guess this could come up again at our meeting that we have in 2 weeks, Monday, March 15th, unless any members or consultants see any reason why we wouldn't be able to consider anything further at this, at that time.
No, I think we can also discuss if we need to set an additional escrow at that meeting. I think what's the initial might be fine to cover the site walk and the review to date, but we'll see. Talk about it next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. All right. With that, thank you.
All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you, sir and ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Good luck.
Thank you.
With a shot. Thank you.
Brian, can you just tell me quickly your phone number?
I'll
You want to
email
get
you.
that over Zoom for
Yeah.
everyone, Mr. Hildebrand?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I'll give you my checking account number too.
No passwords.
All right. I'll email you right now.
He's going to
Okay,
email
thank
you.
you.
All right. Thank you both.
All right, so long.
All right. Now, next we have Gardner Dolan. Gardner Dolan is at 10 Halls Corner Road, Dover Plains, New York, a special permit and site plan.
Yes.
And it's again Mr. Hildebrand from Connolly Engineering LLC.
It is. So still share my screen again.
All right. Mr. Hildebrand, do you have anyone joining you this evening?
Mr. Dolan, I believe, is on.
I do
On
see
the line?
Mr. Dolan. He's presently muted. If he's welcome to be unmuted, as he is the
We're
owner
here.
of this.
We're here.
All right, welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hildebrand, just if you, like I did for the previous project, if you can just kind of give us a broader sense of the location of this, rather than just simply the address.
Oh, okay. Sure. This is 10 Halls Corners Road. It is at the corner of Chestnut Ridge Road, kind of right at the intersection. The site is here. There's an on-site pond. So it's I believe, yes, right at it's the first house once you turn on the Halls Corners.
It's located in the northwest corner of the town of Dover,
Yes.
generally speaking.
Yes, it's just under 10 acres. It's 9 and change. And it's a single family home. The primary residence is here.
Mhm.
And an existing detached garage off of the driveway. Another existing barn in the back, overlooking, there's an on-site pond, as I mentioned, and this stream, the Stony Brook, that meanders throughout the property, eventually coming up past to the east of the main residence and under Halls Corners Road.
So the stream is heading in a northward direction, eastward and then northward, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
The reason we're here tonight is the owners wish to renovate the existing detached garage in the upstairs into an accessory apartment, which will be 1 bedroom. And also as kind of again, more of a master plan of what they want to do with the property. There's an intent to convert the existing barn into a guest cottage. So what we packaged up is showing both of these improvements, which aside from any zoning approvals, will need to do septic upgrades. Both improvements require water and sewer service. So that's in the works. We have spoken to David McDougall at the health department. Now that the snow is finally melting, we can get out there and do soil testing. We do have, based on the site constraints, there is an envelope of potential septic area. Once we do the soil test, we can really nail down the design. So that septic area will serve the 2 new uses, and as well, the health department is asking us to at least, because the house is old and the septic doesn't meet today's standards, they want us to at least design and set aside enough area. This way, if the main house ever has a failure, there's still plenty of room and a viable area to do those septic repairs. Access to the accessory apartment will be off of that existing driveway. There is an existing kind of a semi-developed driveway up around the property towards the barn. And one of the comments, I believe, from AKRF was to talk about emergency access and kind of more of a formal approach, which we can certainly look at. I believe, well, maybe Mr. Dolan could chime in. I believe the accessory apartment is intended for a family member. It's not going to, they're not looking to rent out any space or expand anything. It's all just making the most out of the property they have for their family.
That's right. I'm joined here with my wife, Abby.
Yes, that's correct. It's for our teenage daughter and our son who's in college, just to have another space to be.
Yeah, we're not looking to rent it out.
No.
All right. And then the existing barn to be converted to a future 2-bedroom guest house. The future being this year, next year, sometime in the future.
Yes.
Sometime in the future, probably not for a couple of years. And the idea would be maybe some of my parents could come up and spend summers with us, or our family members. We would just have sort of a family compound, the kids, and someday they could come and spend summers there, that kind of thing.
And so again, Mr. Hildebrand, the idea is, like, I think you used the word master plan, to just, rather than coming to the planning board for the garage and then coming to the planning board again for the barn and some future date, you're just looking to do it all at once. Is that
exactly
correct?
Yeah, the accessory apartment off of the driveway is moving forward. But yeah, rather than piecemeal submissions to the board, we want to just do a more comprehensive view of the property.
So I think that's the better way to look at it, because then you're looking at septic, but you'll have to keep track of your approvals, because once you're approved, if you don't complete it, your approvals may lapse.
Well, we also have.
I was just going to ask, how long would those approvals be valid for?
Well, I guess one of the questions that we need to answer that is a little more information as to whether this is a site plan or site plan with special permit. I don't know if you had a chance to review Aaron's memos, but we need a little more information on how we're characterizing this project. So is it a house? Is it 2 single-family homes with an apartment? Is it 3 single-family homes? We just need to sort out what it is we're reviewing. And the way to do that is we need the floor areas of your proposed units.
Right, so that's actually comment 8 from the memo that I sent around. Just based on the code definition of what accessory apartment is, if it's within within someone's house, it has to be occupy the lesser of 1,000 square feet or 30% of the floor space of that structure. If it's outside of the main principal residence, it can't be larger than 1,000 square feet. So we weren't sure what the floor areas were proposed for these different units. We have I think the site plan, the plan submitted had a total floor area of 5,690, but I wasn't sure how that was broken up.
Okay, yeah, we can work with the architect and break out each building and show you existing floor area as well as the proposed.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we're meeting that definition that the code lays out for accessory apartments. I think I don't see a conflict with the code language as far as, having this number of units on the property based on the acreage. It seems like it would work. And also for SECRO, we can call it a type 2 action if we call them 3 units on an approved lot. So I think those are still fine. But yeah, we would like to see how you're breaking out the floor area. And yeah, you mentioned the driveway to the barn. We looked at that, and the first thing I thought of was just emergency access, proper access to that part of the property. If it looks like the gravel just kind of ends at grass currently, someone needs to get back there. You want to make sure that it's adequate.
Okay.
All right, so let's go through the members of the planning board to see if there's any comments or questions. Member Williams?
No comments or questions.
Thank you. Member Rahman?
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Member Villano?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Member Morosky?
No comments or questions.
So just back to the consultants, Attorney Polidoro, anything further?
I agree it's a type 2 action, and we can put that in writing when it's time to send this over to county planning.
Okay. I'll go through the rest of the consultants, and I have one more thing. Planner Warner?
Sure, yeah, so Victoria just mentioned I just want to touch on the other procedural things. It does require the county referral because it's within 500 feet of a county road. There's also the Department of Health requirements for the septic. And we noticed that just another requirement of the application that I don't think we can check off yet was the agricultural data statement. There was one submitted, but it was just blank. It didn't have the information that's required.
Yeah, that was my mistake. I misunderstood. I didn't think it was applicable for what we were doing, but I will complete that.
Okay.
All right, anything further, Mr. Warner?
No, that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Engineer Berger?
Yes, several things. First, the site plan references a survey by a surveyor. What we would need to see is a survey map as an attachment to this site plan, or in lieu of that, the surveyor could steal your site plan because you have meets and bounds and topography on there and only have reference to the survey. So you have 2 choices: have a second sheet from the surveyor showing all this information with his seal on, or providing the seal on the site plan itself with his license number and address. Second, you're designing the septic area based on a wetland line. I'm not sure whether that was flagged or not. If it was flagged, we need the references to when it was flagged and who located it. If it wasn't flagged, it needs to be flagged specifically, since your septic design's right up against it. And if that's just from a GIS, it could be off 50, 60 feet, we found. And that would impact your design. The health department would want that as well, but since we're reviewing the site. Third, depending on the construction of the driveway over to the barn in the area of your septic, you could possibly be more than a half an acre, over 200 yards, and may need a Chapter 65. So you probably won't know that until you finish your septic design, but just keep that in mind. That Chapter 65 would be the erosion control, Dover's erosion control permit. Let's see. Another thing to consider, Town of Dover does not have issuance of several different COs or certificate of occupancies. If you got this approved with both the barn and the two different units and don't plan on building or converting the barn at this time, if it's shown as being approved to be converted, the building inspector will have a hard time issuing you a CO without all the work being completed. So you may want to consider your timeline in doing it and discuss with the planner and the planning board whether you want it done in phases or something different, but having a single site plan approval with improvements on it, all those improvements need to be done for Don Anderson to sign off on the certificate of occupancy. And that would be all my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berger. I'm hearing what the consultants have said. Any members have any other comments or questions at this time? Please speak now. I just have, so I guess two things. One, Mr. Hildebrand, could you just zoom into the zoning requirements? Right there, yeah. Okay, so thank you. All right, so it's because earlier someone said 10 acres or approximately 10 acres, but it's 9.18 acres.
My mistake. Yes, 9.1.
No, that's fine. Okay, and that what's required is 5 acres.
Yes.
Okay, because of the RC zoning. All right. So, all right, thank you. And I would think it's appropriate to set a site walk date and time for this. I believe what would make the most sense is if we did it, if the applicant or the consultant is available to do it this Saturday, the 6th at 9 a.m., as we will already be looking at a site at 8 a.m. Is that, any planning board members have any objection to that?
That makes sense.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Mr. and Mrs. Dolan or Mr. Hildebrand, is that agreeable to you?
Yeah, we'll be there.
It's fine for us.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. All right. So then the 6th at 9 a.m. Okay. I believe that's that would be it for now.
Can you just go back to the wetlands on the
Yes,
map,
Mr. Warner.
like Joe mentioned it? Because I did look into that and I didn't see any actual like mapped wetlands on the DEC website. So is it just you're calling out 100 feet from the stream and the pond? Is that really all you're doing there, or is there actual wetlands that you're aware of on the property?
Yeah, it's not DEC regulated. It was taken from the edge of the stream in this area.
Then we should just change it from wetland buffer to 100-foot setback from water or something.
Yeah,
we
don't want to close wetlands.
But don't we still want the center line of the stream so we know the buffer, so we know where the buffer is.
Yes, it's just a label. Since the stream was located by the surveyor, the 100 from there is proper. We just need to label it as 100 foot from stream, 100 foot from the edge of water, which is what the health department wants. So if it's not a wetland, then we just don't want to misconstrue that it's a wetland buffer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
And that will help well, because if you have to encroach into that for being just a buffer to the water, the health department will give you waivers for that for a couple of feet versus if from a wetland, you can't. So,
okay.
Good catch, Aaron.
No wetlands, no floodplains on this property at all.
Okay. And just, I guess, thank you for that, Mr. Warner and Mr. Berger. And I guess just, so when we're saying at 9 a.m., it is possible that we could finish up at the previous site walk early and might arrive more, before 9 a.m.
Probably.
No, I mean, I don't think it wouldn't be any earlier than 8:30, but it's possible it could be 8:45. So
okay.
I just want to make that clear.
We'll be there.
Yeah, right. I imagine you would. Okay. So thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Dolan and Mr. Hildebrand.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. So at this time, I believe we're on to approval of the minutes. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, seconded by
Second.
Member Williams. Discussion on the minutes? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
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 Opposed say no. All right, the minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0 with 2 absences. All right, so our next meeting is March 15th at 7 p.m. We'll be continuing with the Zoom meetings. Like I've said before, I'm here at Town Hall. If you have your device and would like to bring it to Town Hall and join me here as a member of the Planning Board, you're welcome to do so. We do have those site walks on the 6th. The meeting on the 15th will have, I would guess, a continued discussion of the 2 new business projects following the site walk, and then also the Savarese Dover Furnace Road public hearing, and then we did receive an application last week for another project on Pleasant Ridge Road. So we certainly have a meeting on March 15th. The meeting following that would be April 5th, and the deadline for that meeting would be March 19th. So anticipating that we would have a brief meeting with the consultants sometime possibly next week after the site walks. And so like before, 1 or 2 of you are welcome to join us. I want to thank Member Morosky and Member Villano for joining us at that. I'm not entirely sure what time or date that'll be yet, but we'll have that figured out, I would think, by the time we have the site walks on Saturday. So. All right, so not seeing any further business at this time. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Member Villano. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 We are now adjourned.